Yes, sir, we can. Thank you all for attending the UnForm webinar. Today's presentation will be presented by Paul Buchel from UnForm. Paul, it's all yours. Take it away.
Well, first, thanks everybody for attending. I just want to kind of step you through some of our applications today and solutions with a focus on business process automation. So I am going to give a fairly high level overview. Hopefully it'll give you enough information to pique your interest, and we can certainly then answer any more detailed questions that you may have. I am going to step through about 6 or 8 PowerPoint slides. I'm going to try to move through those relatively quickly today so that we can get to the software itself and you see how it works. So just to kind of start out, and we've got multiple solutions. The first one that many of you may already use is our print management solution that allows you to capture or take any kind of input, whether it's text or XML or even PDFs, bring it through our design tool and create forms and reports, very professional looking and dynamic forms and reports, and then automate the delivery of those either via email or fax or to printers. What we're going to focus on today, though, is more of the document management side of it. So the archive is our document repository, and documents come in to that repository a variety of ways. As you print documents through the print management piece, they're automatically archived so that nobody has to do anything to get those into the system. So when you do an invoice run or print purchase orders or pick tickets, whatever that may be, they're automatically archived, based on the UnForm rule files. The next way to get documents into the archive, whether they're hard copies or electronic copies, is with our image manager. And the image manager has a tremendous amount of flexibility and capability to help automate the import or of the documents into the archive. So we have, if it's an electronic document already, you don't have to print it out and scan it. We can import those in, and they can come in via email or to directories, and we can automate the processing of that. We're going to take a closer look at that in just a second. The image manager can also be used to push documents into other repositories. So via APIs and other methods, we can use the image manager to push documents into other repositories as well. Any document that's in the archive is available to our DocFlow routing capability, and that can be used for a variety of things. Some of the more common uses for it are invoice approvals. It can also be used for electronic signature capture as well. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of that as we get into the software. And then the archive, as we bring documents into the archive, we can also extract data from them, and that data can then be used to automate data entry functions. The typical application for that is accounts payable, and I'll step you through a couple of examples of that in just a minute as well, where we're actually extracting data from vendor invoices and pushing that through as electronic transactions. The idea being you don't have to do the data entry, and the data that is entered is more accurate because nobody's, you don't have the chance of miskeying things. And just be aware too, we're not going to talk about it much today, but our Cirrus Print application, if you're considering moving applications to cloud, the Cirrus Print helps to make your printing life much easier. And you can also keep your existing printers. You don't have to buy email capable printers. If you have Cirrus Print, we can take the cloud printed documents and push them to standard printers using that. Very quickly, again, some of you are probably familiar with our print management application. It supports a variety of things and does to create very professional and dynamic documents. We can put barcodes on it. We can support Micker, so you can do your laser checks with it. And we support a variety of import streams, so XML, text, PDFs, whatever the input is, we can deal with that. And we do have standard rule files for all of the Infor applications. So we've got rule files for Cloud Suite, for SX, for A+, and for Fax. The archiving can be, you can retrieve documents a variety of ways. When you're in our archive, it's, again, browser-based. There's a variety of ways to search. If you know pretty much what you're looking for, the one search gives you the ability to pick a document type and a value and pull up a document. Browse gives you the ability to search based on when it was last updated, a variety of other criteria. And finally, search gives you a very powerful search to search across multiple libraries for multiple characteristics. So you can group documents based on a search. And I'll show you a couple quick examples of each of those in just a second. And also, you can retrieve documents via APIs and REST calls, so you can, it lends itself well to creating a self-service portal on your website for either customers or, in some cases, vendors and suppliers to come in and access documents that they typically request from our customer service reps and folks. The documents, as they come in, regardless of how they come in, are automatically linked together based on common indexing information. So if you have a check, you can drill down to the invoices and the POs and the packing slips from that one document. So it doesn't matter how they've come in, whether it's captured at print or scanned or imported, the common indexing information links those documents together for you. And we do have launch points in the different ERPs, so from directly within the inquiries, you can get to the documents you're looking for. So again, once you're in there, then you can use those other searches, the browse, and the search capability as well. But you do have the ability to launch the archive directly from the ERP applications. One of the things we're going to kind of focus on today is our new image manager, which version 10 came out first of the year. And it gives you the ability to monitor different sources where documents may come in. So you can monitor an email address. So if you have vendors and suppliers emailing invoices to a specific email address, we can monitor that email address, pull those attachments off, and run those through the image manager, not only get them indexed, but we can also use that as with the ability to extract the data from that document to create an electronic transaction. Same thing with directories. So if you have, you can have folks drag and drop documents into directories, and they can be monitored as well to pick up those documents and process them automatically. Excuse me. And then we have the ability also to do if it's not and doesn't lend itself well to automation, then we can do other things to help enhance the ability to get those indexed. So we can do lookups into the ERP. So, once we've captured a PO number from a packing slip, for example, we can go to the ERP, pull information from the ERP to get that document indexed with minimal amount of data entry. And then with the AP automation, again, we can identify who sent it based on who sent it. We know where to look for those key data elements required to create an electronic transaction. We can validate that data by comparing it to ERP data. We can check to see if it's a duplicate. We can mathematically validate the information we're extracted. There are a lot of different ways to validate the data to ensure we've got good, accurate information. And then we've got flexible output options. So we can output the EDI810i.dat file, we can output an XML invoice bod, we can do CSV, so it's very flexible, and other options are available as well. The workflow is kind of a new feature with version 10. Flow is simply a series of steps that a document needs to go through. So once a document is in the archive, it's available for DocFlow capability. And there's different steps within a flow, and those steps define an action. And we'll look at some examples of that. And then each step is controlled by a role, so that a person assigned a role can move a document from the step they have rights to, and then it would move on to the next person. So the security is controlled by who has access to what roles. And you can use those for a variety of purposes. Approval processes, you can use it for collaboration. So if there's certain documents within a process that are required to move it through, we can help you validate that they're all there. And then electronic signature capture is also one of the doc flows that you can use as well. So now let me jump over here real quick. Again, today we're going to take a look at the archive, which is the document repository, image manager, which is how you bring external documents into the system, and then we're going to look at DocFlow. But before I jump into that, I want to do one thing. So you'll note here in this particular, this is an inbound source, and this is we're monitoring an email box. So what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to send this email to that source, and then we'll go take a look at some other stuff, and we'll get back to this once it's processed. But note that we have 4 documents in this particular email. And let me go ahead and hit send, and it will start doing its magic. And while it's working on that, I want to talk through the archive and how that is set up. So the way we organize things is based on libraries, and libraries are really just logical groupings of documents typically based on job functions. And we've got standard library setups based on ERPs. However, you can make whatever libraries you want and put whatever documents you want, and documents can be in multiple libraries as well. And then you can control who has access to the documents based on what libraries they have access to. Right now we're looking at the one search. So this is a search where I have a pretty good idea of what I'm looking for. So I'm in the accounts payable library, and I want to look for a specific check number and review it prior to signing it. So I can pull up a copy of this check, which was captured as it was printed. And because it's got purchase order numbers and invoice numbers on it, it gets linked back to all those documents as well. So I can drill down to a specific document from here. So if I need to take a look at that particular invoice, I can. And note too that right within here in the retrieval side, I can add a document from here as well. So if I wanted to add, a picture of, if I'm going to make a deduction on here because there was damaged material, I could attach a picture of the damaged material here, or I could attach, an email discussion about this particular transaction. But again, all of them are linked together as they come in based on those common, index, oops. Went a little too far there, based on all that common indexing information. So when I'm here, I can also pop up in our multi-view and get to copies of all those documents as well. So if I am reviewing that check to determine if I want to sign it or not, and I want to drill down into a transaction to get a better idea of what's going on, I can, pull up the check, the PO, the invoice, packing slip, all from directly within here and make whatever decision it is I need to make about that. And then I'm going to show you one more real quick search capability. So this is the search capability, and this gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility to find things. One of the things we do as we capture documents as they come in, we're capturing all the data on that document as well. So if I need to look for all the documents for a particular customer that have, hot dogs on it, I can come in here and do a search based on those keywords, and it will pull up a list of all the documents that have, for that customer, that have that particular item on it. So I've got all that kind of information. So the search capability, again, gives you a tremendous amount of capability defined documents you're looking for that are in the system. You can group them together. I think, one of the good use for this is, if you're doing an audit and you need to start pulling copies of documents together, it's a great way to do that. So here, let's take a quick look here. So we talked about Image Manager and inbound sources. So the way they are set up is within the admin function here. So I've got one, this is an inbound source where I've specified a particular directory, and then as documents come in here, I tell it what I want to happen to those documents. This is the one we sent the documents to a minute ago. This is the email address. So let's jump over to Image Manager now and talk a little bit about that. So we're back in Image Manager now, and again, Image Manager is what you use to bring in either scanned physical documents, or in this example, these were electronic documents that came in via email. So as those documents came in, we ran a specific, what we call a job definition against those. It's a one-time setup, per vendor to map out, who it is and what to look for on those documents. So once that's set up, they, they'll be able to process based on the particular definitions that you've defined for that particular vendor. Note that we've got check marks on all these. What that indicates is that these came in, we were able to identify it and extract the information that we've defined as required accurately on these documents. So if the parameter to automatically upload these had been set, to do that, these would have been automatically uploaded into the archive and they'd be done. This one doesn't have a check mark because one of the validations that we applied to this is to check for duplicates. So it did detect that this is actually a duplicate, so we'd want to do some research to determine if it is in fact a duplicate. But not only have these jobs been set up to identify and get the index information we're going to use to store and retrieve those documents, but these also are set up to grab all that line item detail. So if you take a look at this document, it's got multiple pages, quite a few part numbers, and then we've got terms and conditions at the end, and I mean, it's a relatively complex document, but we were able to extract all the information from that document and get that in. Once this gets uploaded into the archive, all that data will be available for export as an electronic transaction. Any other exceptions in this, we're actually doing all the math on the line items as well. So if a line item hadn't passed, it would flag it, and you can come in here and make corrections directly here and then push that through. We've also taken the total of the merchandise total, we've added the tax to it and made sure that it foots back to the total that we actually pulled off the invoice. So that is, let me move this out of the way. And I think I need to undock that. There we go. So the job definitions provide, again, a tremendous amount of capability to be able to do things like this. Let me just pop one up right quick here. So this is the job definition for that invoice we were looking at. So in here, this is where you create that one-time template from here. You have the ability to create different parameters. So, what libraries am I going to put it in? How are different things labeled? So what does it say before it gets where my taxes are so that I know how to find those taxes? Here's where the auto transfer flag is on, you'll see I've got this turned off. So it did not actually upload it. But the parameters give you a lot of flexibility, not only to figure out what to do with data, but you can plug data in here too that may be required in the electronic transaction that it's not necessarily on this particular invoice, like a trading partner ID or something, something similar. The zones are where you identify where those key pieces of information are coming from. So that's where I'm grabbing my invoice date. And then if I needed to adjust this for someone else, I simply drag the box to wherever the invoice date is. Detection, that's how I determine, who's sending this to me. So you can also, you can build additional operators in here so that, if you have a vendor that has multiple ship tos, this is where you define the detection logic to be able to figure those out. The data fields are here, identification, and then I think the thing that really makes this very, very powerful is the ability to do custom scripting if required as well. And some of that may be different filters based on how data is on this document. So some documents come in and they may have a unit of measure jammed up to the actual quantity. So you have the ability to apply those kinds of filters to clean that data up prior to creating the transaction, so you've got the data you need to do that. Then once these are uploaded into the archive, from there they are available for the DocFlow piece. So let's take a quick look at a couple of those. I'm going to show you a couple of relatively straightforward DocFlows we've built here. So this one is a fairly simplistic expense invoice approval DocFlow. Right now, because I am logged on as an admin, I can see all the roles that are associated with this particular DocFlow. But you'll see I've got, in this particular one, I've got a branch approval, a controller approval, and a CEO approval. And this one has been built based simply on the dollar value of this invoice. So if we go look at the flow itself, we've actually got this one set up so that the branch manager can approve up to $300, the controller up to $1,000, and then from there it would move on to the CEO. You can also have multiple sign-offs as well. So over a certain dollar value, if it took two folks to sign off on it, those can be built. And you'll see here, this one came in at $1,300, so it got bumped up the list. This one, the branch manager was able to approve because of the dollar value, and this one went to the controller. But from here, again, you just come in here and and whoever's role it is would select the appropriate action. Again, these are all configurable based on whatever your process is. So they could select a particular action. You can add notes to it from here. You can add attachments if you need to. And we're logging and tracking everything that happens to that as well, so that once this document is complete and has moved all the way into the archive, we'll have a log of everything that happened to it, what steps it went through, who approved it and when, so that you can go back and you've got a good audit trail of how that happened. Again, this one's a pretty simplistic one, but they can be built out based on whatever your particular process is. The signature capture is based on creating a signature capture flow. So when documents, if you've got proof or pick tickets, if you're signing off on those, as they're generated out of UnForm, they'd be pushed into the archive, and then a flow could be kicked off based on that. So the way the signature capture works, it's a responsive app, so it'll work on a smartphone or a tablet. You don't have to have a special device to use it. But from in here, when you're ready to sign it, I just come in, pull it up, and it's going to ask me, like the way this one's configured, it's going to ask me to type my name in just like you would for UPS, hit submit, and then I can come in and sign that document. Save it, and then from here, you'll see I've got the signature available, and then from there, I can go through and upload it from there. Note here too, we've got this one set up so you could add attachments to it. So again, if you've got a delivery where you've got some damaged material, you could actually take a picture of it and attach it, in the field and upload it from there. So this is, once you can set the sync to be automatic. So as long as there's an internet connection, it will sync up based on whatever your sync parameters are. So that is, fairly high-level overview of the DocFlow image manager. Oh, let me show you too. I think, did I already show this? So I do want to show you too, you do have the ability to launch directly from it within the different ERPs. So from here, this happens to be the web UI, and it could be wherever it's installed. I can actually launch my documents from here. And then once I'm in here, I'm in the UnForm archive browser-based app, so I can do all those other searches that I need to if I need to do that. So I think Gary, I think we're right at 30 minutes. So I wanted to make sure we left, 10 to 15 minutes for questions.
Okay. Don't see any questions right now. But if you have a question, now's a good time to type it in. Also, if you raise your hand, I'll unmute you. I see the first question coming in here. Shoot, I just lost it.
No.
I lost my window. Okay, give me a second to get that back, and then of course, if anybody else has questions, feel free to type them in. Where'd you go? Down there. Okay. All right. So the first question is, does anyone know if this can replace now forms?
Absolutely can. Yes.
Okay. I don't see any other questions right now. So if you want to elaborate on that a little bit, might be good. Otherwise,
So the we'll jump back over here. So the piece that you'd use to replace now forms is the print management piece. So so that is the piece actually that has been. I think we've got roughly, I don't know, 700 or 800 SX.e users, and then another few thousand spread across fax and A+ as well. So the print management and e-delivery, takes that output from the ERP and you use it to create the forms. And it can also do the automated delivery via email, or, some people are still faxing, but it has, all the capabilities needed to create those documents, based on whatever your particular requirements are. And again, we've got standard rule files already for Cloud Suite, for SX, for A+, and for fax. And if interested, you can actually download a trial version from our website. So if we go here, all of the documentation is available on our website for all the different versions and for everything we just looked at. So all the documentation is out there. You also have the ability to come in here and download a trial version. If you want, it'll run on either Linux or Windows. The trial version will run for, I think, 21 days, and you can renew it once. So it'll go for a total of 42. And if it's something you're interested in, you can let me know, and we can, at least give you some instruction, once you've downloaded and got it set up on how to start working with it, so you can give it a try and see how it works for you.
Okay. All right. The next question is, can you show how we would leverage the extracted data and move that to our ERP?
The extracted data, again, there's a variety of ways to output it. I don't have, excuse me, the, what did I have running over there? I think I've got Web UI running. So I can talk you through it real quick. I know some of you that have been running SX may find this hard to believe, but I'm having a little trouble with the report scheduler today. But one method is to run it as into SX.e is to bring it in via the EDI functionality. So we'd create the EDI 10i.dat file, run it through APEGE, which would then push it into the AP invoice center. Or if you're running the GUI version, it puts it into AP batch. So you do have to use AP batch either way when you bring these in. The BOD, essentially, the ION BOD would essentially work the same way, except rather than coming through APEGE, it goes through ION to be delivered into the invoice center. With A+, typically we just push the data into the offline files so that you could use them from there. And then there is a channel partner that's developed a method to bring invoices in for fax. So I can talk to you, about that if that's the application you're looking for. But again, it's...
Well, oddly enough, it was an A+ user that asked the question.
Okay. So with A+, the approach would be to push it to the offline files.
Okay. All right, next question. We have version 9. Is there any particular features that are in 10 and not in 9?
Yeah, a lot of what we just saw. So version 10, essentially, that's a very good question, thanks. So version 10, Image Manager in particular is a complete rewrite. So in the version 9 Image Manager, that was actually written in VB, and VB, although it's still very widely used, VB script isn't really supported officially anymore. So the version 10 Image Manager utilizes the same language now as you use to build rule files. So if you're familiar with using our rule files, it's again the same language you use to build a rule file to build the job definitions in Image Manager. The DocFlow is new capability as well. We had a version we called Workflow in version 9. Again, this DocFlow is a complete rewrite in that. I think the other huge difference is all these pieces are browser based. So even the scanning piece, so you don't have to install a client on a machine to do this. So there's quite a few differences in version 9 and version 10. If you're doing print management, all your existing rule files are upward compatible, so they just move up into version 10. And additionally, with version 10 now, we've got the ability to do load balancing and failover as well. So if that's something you guys have been looking at, with version 10, you do have that capability now.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. We currently use UnForm for just printing. Is this all-inclusive, I guess what you've shown today, if we stay with them, or is this a premier package?
It is. You'd have to add the document management components. So if you want to do the archive, you do have to add the archive, and then Image Manager, you'd have to add Image Manager. I think it's a very reasonably priced solution. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at the the price. And I can if you want to give me a call or shoot me an email, I can give you a very quick estimate on what the cost would be to add these different components.
Okay, very good. Somebody asked the general path of implementation: number 1, forms; number 2, document management; number 3, workflows, etc.
Yeah, so when you build your forms and start printing, those can go directly into the archive. So those two pieces can happen simultaneously. The Image Manager would typically be the next piece. It's it's a pretty simple learning curve to use Image Manager, so that they can come along pretty quickly thereafter, or at the same time, quite frankly. DocFlow, I think, is probably one you need to think through. When you start thinking about using DocFlow to do things, it's a great opportunity to kind of review the processes, as is processes today, because once you start looking at building out flows, sometimes you identify some inefficiencies, if you will, in your current processes that you can correct and improve on as you roll out something like DocFlow.
Okay. Does Infor have its own solution for printing pick tickets, or do we have to use one of these offered solutions?
I guess that would depend on the application you're running. So there is a solution they have in Cloud Suite that utilizes Word templates to create forms. As far as the other applications, I don't know of a native Infor method to create, although let me back up. You can use standard forms, but they're fairly limited. I know in SX, I'm not sure about the other applications.
Okay. Does version 10 have the ability for us to send print jobs to a polling folder and have pollers pick up the jobs and process them rather than sending output directly from our ERP to a printer?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Our Cirrus Print application may be the answer to that. I'll tell you what, if you can let Gary know, give Gary your contact information, let me talk with our development team. I suspect the answer is yes, but I would just want to get confirmation for that.
Very good. When Gloria sends you the registration report, it'll have all the questions that everybody asked, so you can just follow up from that report.
Okay.
Okay. What fax version is UnForm 10 available on?
It's up to, we just got Friday a pre-release of 9.3, so from, oh boy, I know before early 7 up to current day.
Okay. All right. Is this a cloud-based solution?
It can be either installed on-prem or in the cloud. My demo here is actually running on AWS, so it can be installed either way. Again, it's completely browser-based, so whether it's in the cloud or on-prem is, entirely dependent on how you want to deploy it.
Okay. And then the last one that's here for now is relating back to the one about printing to a polling folder, and he said he's interested in the same options for printing to a folder. I'm not sure what the context of that question is, but maybe you understand it.
You could print to a folder, definitely.
Okay. I guess I don't understand the difference between a polling folder and a regular folder, but.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of my confusion as well, but yes, you can send the output directly to a folder.
Okay. Are you able to handle multilingual documents?
Yes. Well, let me back up. So from the print output side, yes, we support foreign language. If you're talking about the scanning and imaging, the answer is sure. Whatever's on that document, it's what's going to be extracted. So
But as far as character recognition, she qualified it saying scanning and imaging is what the question is related to.
Scanning, okay. So it'll pull off the data that's on the document.
Okay, and then does it do OCR in foreign languages or not?
We use Tesseract as our OCR engine. That's another one. I need to do some research on that.
Okay.
I'm sure.
All right.
I know we've done French and Spanish. I don't know what else.
Okay. Relating back to the question on version of fax, the user made a comment. He said, I think he misspoke. UnForm 10 is only certified for fax 9.3 at this point.
And
With a different user.
Yeah.
Okay. And previous, right, okay. The guy that asked the question is running FACS 7.8, so I think it was a good answer for him.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know that worked out. All right, I don't see any other questions right now. Wait a minute, one more just came in. And then I do see one person with their hand raised, but it's the same person that asked the question. So how would it print from the cloud to different printers? As a batch mode, we have UnForm and we print reports or pick tickets at different times automatically without user interaction.
Yeah, so you're just talking about if you install it someplace in the cloud?
Over from the cloud, yeah. You know, he said the cloud, yeah. And Walter, if you want me to unmute you, just leave your hand raised for another 10 seconds or so, and I'll just unmute you.
Well, what I'll do, Walter, I've got some information I'll send you when I get the registration on how all that works.
Okay. All right. Well, he left his hand raised, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute him just for a second, just see if he wants to make any other comments. Walter, you're unmuted if you want to ask a question. Yep. He doesn't have a mic. Never mind.
Okay.
He said, okay, you answered his question, so we're good there.
Okay.
All right. I don't see any other questions, Paul, so I think we can probably wrap this up. Good webinar.
I think we're, 3 minutes early? Not bad.
Yeah, do you have your contact info and you want to put it up on the screen? That might be a good thing.
Yeah, let me do that. And
okay. Thank you all very much for attending the webinar today. We appreciate your time. UnForm appreciates your time, and everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one.
thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Bye.
Yep.